everyone, and welcome to RDY VIP Podcast. My name is Emanuel Class. I'm your host for today, and joining me are none other than Chris King and Ben Sigal, founders of RaveDaddy.
Hey, everybody. Nice to be here with you today.
Hey, everybody. Happy to be here.
Glad to have you both on. The first time I met you, we had a instant connection, and I was like, hey, guys, you should start a podcast. And you were like, hey, Emmanuel, you should start a podcast with us. And boom, RDY VIP was born. But this is also an opportunity for us to come together and talk about music, to talk about festivals, to interview some of the amazing DJs that we meet along the way, and to also talk about what RaveDaddy is and what it means for the community.
Absolutely.
Chris, I would like you guys to first introduce yourselves a little bit to get the opportunity for the community to know who you are and what you're into, what you're about. So why don't you start us out?
Sure. And I usually would start us out because I love talking. But because I love Ben so much, I'm going to let him go first.
All right. Well, hello, everybody, again. So my name is Ben Sigal. I am the technical co-founder, developer behind RaveDaddy, lifelong dance music, EDM, hip hop head, all the things. Just absolutely love music. Background is in development, but also just making the best experiences for people. And that's in a lot of different markets. And so I'm here to just bring that experience in and share some of that story and help people connect and be safe, play hard, play safe. Chris, all you.
Beautiful. Thanks, buddy. Well, as Ben said, my name is Chris. I'm the other co-founder of RaveDaddy. And, some out there would say you should have a technical co-founder and a non-technical co-founder. But I think, I'm a little techie. So, I handle everything on the RaveDaddy business side related to social media, anything under the umbrella of marketing and sales and business development and all that good stuff. Really my background is in tech, and from Verizon to startups to hardware and Android customizable tablets and social media analytics. I've been around the block in the startup world, so it was nice to be able to get to with Ben and finally create something of our own, as you could say.
So on the Instagram page, when you see the capybara with the bucket hat on, that's Chris who's talking to you. He's full capybara.
It is. I don't have a bucket hat right now, but I should soon.
Rookie mistake.
I know. Sorry. Hopefully by Friday.
I really love the concept behind the RaveDaddy app. I think it's really neat, and I would like to hear a little bit more about where the idea comes from. Chris, do you want to start us out this time, or are you going to pass the buck to Ben again?
Sure. No, I won't pass the buck every time. I'll go ahead and take it this time. So back in March, well, let me go back a little bit further. So Ben and
Rewind.
I, a little bit in the time machine, if you would, or the Wayback Machine. So Ben and I met each other, what, Ben, probably 8 years ago, give or take?
Just about, yeah, like
Pretty close. All right.
Yeah.
We can give them the credit they probably deserve because our sons will never let us live down that they are the reason we met.
Aw.
The sons were at a bus stop going to school together. Ben and I were the two dads down at the bus stop, but being in tech and being a little awkward for a while, we'd be around and then we'd slowly talk about a thing. And then, a year later, we finally became friends. But it was because our boys talked about Overwatch, the video game, nonstop. And so that kicked it off. From there, though, Ben and I would always partner together, right? We'd talk business together. We'd go on long walks and just talk about life and, what was going on. And we'd always bounce ideas off of each other from a business perspective. But finally in March, this last year in 2024, after Ben and I actually we already had the startup business together. We had already been working on a different idea together. But honestly, we weren't madly in love with it. Is that fair to say, Ben?
Totally.
All right, perfect. So, we were able to go to a concert or a festival together finally, without friends, family, kids, what have you. It was just Ben and I. And so we can dive into at a later episode kind of what brought that experience together and what else came out of it. For now, though, we'll focus on RaveDaddy. And so when we were at Rolling Loud, we had an amazing time. It was in LA, it was in March. Doesn't get much better than that. People had a fantastic time, but we also saw people who were not having a great time. And so, Ben, do you want to take it from there and dive in a little bit deeper?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So, like Chris said, we were at Rolling Loud having a blast, and it was the first time he and I had ever gotten able to go out do something, just the two of us without our kids, wives, the whole thing. So, had a great time. And as Chris mentioned, we're looking around, and there are so many pickpockets, and there's fights breaking out all over the place, and there are a lot of people on substances that they probably weren't familiar with or weren't expecting the reaction that they got. And so there were some really scary situations. And as a couple of days rolled on, Chris and I started talking more and more about it. And like Chris mentioned, we had already been kind of going through planning something, working on some prototypes and all. But it was for something we just weren't passionate about. It was very similar to what we do in our day jobs. And what we saw was a need around us. And Chris and I both just love the scene, love music. And we started talking about it, and it just was very apparent that um, I think there was a little over 1,000 people that were working security and assistance at Rolling Loud, and there was over 100,000 people that were at Rolling Loud. And so you've got about one person for every 100 at best, and there just had to be a better way to help your friends coordinate things. And so that was kind of what sent the whole boulder down the hill, so to speak, and got us on our way.
Oh, if that isn't the most plur story, two guys meet, they take a year to become friends standing next to each other. Uh, Finally,
Sure.
after holding hands,
Mhm.
they get to hang out, go to
Mhm.
a concert alone together,
Mhm.
very plur, right?
That's right.
And then they just
Mhm.
they have a good time. But then they see other people who aren't having as good a time as they are. And so what do? They create a business to help other people have a good time together and a safe time together. I think that's one of the really neat things about Rave Daddy. It's what immediately attracted me to you guys' idea was that as a rave daddy myself, right, I like to take people to events and make sure they're safe and that they're having a good time and everybody gets trinkets and is hydrated and has water and finds their side quest and comes back. But not everybody has a me, right? Not everybody has somebody
Right.
to bring them together, to help them organize, and to keep them safe. And I think that's the really neat thing about the Rave Daddy app is that it is your Rave Daddy. It's your Overwatch. It's your safety net. It's somebody watching your back so that you can have the best time possible. And I think that's really neat. So, what made you choose Rave Daddy? What made you go in that direction?
Ooh, well, I can start off by saying that it definitely did not start immediately that way. So as we were coming up with this idea, right, and we were spinning up different ideas, there was an original name that I'm not even going to talk about ever because it's we don't dead name anything around here. So we're going to go ahead and let Ben kind of get into the ethos because I know, it is something he is incredibly passionate about, and it means a lot to him, and therefore it means a lot to me.
Oh,
Thanks, brother. So you guys can see right here, I got my Florida hat on, Florida Marlins back in the day. They're Miami Marlins now, but I'm a Florida kid. I grew up there, born there, raised there. Miami is kind of where my hub was. And yeah, as Chris mentioned, EDM very much the core of my social life growing up. So I loved the scene and went to Europe. We followed it over there for a while and had a great time. And so um, as Chris and I were talking about what this app would do and what we wanted it to do, and kind of knowing the state of where things are in the EDM scene and music in general, I had this idea for Rave Daddy, just the name Rave Daddy. And we thought about Rave Dad, and we had some other, so like Chris said, there's some other names in there as well. But um, Rave Daddy was our way of connecting the dots, and it was a little tongue in cheek, a little playful, but really ultimately it's about the idea of being there for people, like you said, Manuel. Just um, wanting to make sure people are taken care of. It's crazy. I have a 21-year-old daughter now, and she is now in the rave scene herself. And I obviously am not going to the same raves that she goes to, and so, but I do want her to still have that piece, piece of me with her, and somebody looking for her. And so this in a lot of ways was inspired by Chris and I having kids and wanting to, or should say that, having our own individual set of kids. But anyways, but that love that we have. So a lot of this whole idea came from the fact that Chris and I have kids. And like I said, my daughter being in the rave scene, I just wanted there to be that piece of us that was with them and keeping them safe and, doing anything that we could to just keep an eye out for them, obviously, as they travel. In all the better if we can share that with other people. And the hope just being that this isn't just about preventing bad things. This is also about giving people that feeling that, hey, I can go to a concert, I can go to a music festival, I can communicate with people that normally at a music festival might be a lot harder to get a hold of, and I can be safe. And so that was really what kind of brought this all together and sent us down this path of Rave Daddy.
Awesome. I absolutely love that. And I think you hit something right there in the end, right? Communication at these big festivals is not always the easiest. Some of them have, relays that get you connected to their Wi-Fi or their 5G, but not all of them do. And then even still, you go to these big ones like you mentioned Rolling Loud, or you go to EDC and there's no signal because you're competing with, 100,000 other signals in that city right at that moment. And so let's talk technical aspects here. Let's talk turkey. There's some really awesome things going on with this app. What are some of the features and how does it work?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I can kick us off, then I'll give it over to Ben for the technical details. But at a high level, right, what this application is going to allow you to do is it's going to allow you to set it up without providing a bunch of information about who you are. That was really important to us from the get-go. We don't want to know all the details about Emanuel or Ben or who you are as a user. We don't want to know, your email address, passwords, your contact list, and we don't want any of it. We're also not going to store any of that stuff. So when you go to sign up for the app, you just need a phone number. That's it. And from there, you're able to create a group of users. And so if you, myself, Ben, go to a show like we are on Friday to John Summit at Rawhide, we can connect as a group. We can call it John Summit at Rawhide. I can go ahead and add you. I can add Ben, and it will fire off a message to connect us as a group. From there, it has a map functionality. So as it pings and receives your GPS signal and updates it every so often, it'll receive that and locate you on a map. From there, also, we have an SOS functionality. And this is really the heart and soul of this thing. Like the idea that people need help when they otherwise might not be able to get it, or what Ben and I experienced at Rolling Loud, which is people need help, but you are now in a sea of people, right? Speaking of 100,000 people, 200,000 people, sometimes more if you're at Tomorrowland, people get lost and you can't just wave your hands or your lighters anymore, may have been effective. And so the SOS functionality allows us to grab your GPS, send it to your buddy system, and then also something that we're working on for down the road is an integration with the event operators so that if we want, and if you want as a user, you could share that SOS ping with the event staff so you could get the help you actually need when you need it or your friends need it, instead of just hoping that you're recognized in a sea of people waving their hands around, which just looks like fun anyways. So Ben, on that note, I'll let you kind of break down anything I missed or any other details.
Yeah, absolutely. You didn't miss anything, but I can definitely elaborate on a couple of things.
All right.
So, like Chris said, there are two specific instances I can think of just from Rolling Loud that I really think contributed to the idea of the SOS function. Uh, One was that we had we were towards the front of one concert and or one stage, and this young girl was with her friend, and she's dragging her friend through the crowd. Her friend's eyes are as big as saucers. I mean, just huge. Pupils are completely dilated, and she's just elbowing, trying to fight through everybody from the very front to make it all the way to the back, trying to get to the tent. Easily, 10, 15, maybe even 20,000 people in the front of the biggest stage they had.
Wow.
And so, that thought stayed with me. Like this girl was doing everything she could, trying to get her friend to safety and just keep talking to her friend, trying to keep her engaged. And her friend is just out of it. And so, and then the other story was there we were at the same stage, but another event. And there was a young man, probably in his mid 20s or so. And he was partying, having a good time, and he started kind of get woozy. He falls down. Thankfully, he didn't hit his head, but he's down and out. And everybody's just kind of standing around him, and people are shouting, medic, and calling for things. And but you're at a concert, nobody's hearing anything. It's daytime, so the flashlight thing is not working. There's just nothing going on. Everybody's just standing there. So I'm there with Chris, and we're watching long enough, and he comes back up, and probably about 4 or 5 minutes, he stands up again. He's okay for a second, then he does it again, and he falls down. And this time, somebody was able to catch him just enough before he hit the ground, so he didn't smack his head on that cement. And at that point, I took off and went to the medics and grabbed him and brought somebody back with me to get to him. It was in those two events that something like SOS needed to happen. It was very clear there has to be a better way. And so, to Chris's point, what we're really trying to do here, it's not about the data. The only thing that we need is your phone number, and that's just because that's how the app is set up, so that we can share information between you and whoever you decide to share it with. We're not selling anything. It's really as minimal as possible. And because it's so small and so light, that's a big reason why it is able to work at these events, even when a lot of other apps fall. I was just telling Chris yesterday, it's all of 19 megabytes, which is a very small size for a package compared to 300, 400 for other apps that do social media engagement, things like that. So the idea here is that we're a fraction of the size, and we're trying to make sure that people have that connection and able to utilize those functions in that way, that functionality.
Awesome. And it's set up to be user friendly too. I've seen some of the beta and it's like gigantic big SOS button, right? You can't miss it. And that's one of the best because I've been there, right? Like we've all been there. We're adults. We've had a good time. And here in Arizona, dehydration alone can get you. You can just be outside in a crowd of people and sweat yourself to the point where you're ready to pass out, where you're like,
Absolutely.
I'm getting blurry vision. I don't feel, good anymore. I'm starting to feel nauseous. Maybe I want to throw up. And then you can add any substance on top of that and not feel great. You can be at that point and drink water and not feel great. When you're so
Mm-hmm.
dehydrated, even the water's coming back up, right? And at that point, you can grab your phone and hit SOS, and it doesn't matter. It's a gigantic pink button, right? It's going to call your friends. It's going to let people know that you need help. And as I understand it, one of the, future possibilities is that this is integrated with the festivals when, they can hit that same signal and find you in the crowd and help you get to the EMTs or help pull you out to safety. And that's huge.
Yeah, it's something that was really, really important to us, right? And we knew that not everybody would want to have that functionality or have that connection to events, right? But having the option there if you want it. And
Hmm.
it's, again, it's not sending who you are or what problem did you have to them, nothing like that. It's very simply, hey, you, Emanuel, triggered the SOS, and now it's just going to send up your GPS location saying, hey, there's a person having a problem and they're over here. And in the future, there's ideas to develop a heat map, right? So if instead of having one person in a porta potty having an issue, right, we have 10 people, 20 people set off an SOS because there's a giant fight or something worse, then that will blow up on a heat map, kind of like you can see on Snapchat and other popular applications in their heat map system. And so the staff will know where there is an absolutely urgent matter versus maybe something that's, a little bit less urgent.
I like what you bring up there too, where like maybe you don't necessarily use it for yourself, but it could save somebody else's life. Maybe you set it off because something going on around you and somebody nearby needs help. I mean, like my wife is all of 5 foot tall, right? And if somebody were to pass out in front of her, she's not dragging them out. And I can think of lots of people who are at festivals who have that same experience where they're like, I don't know what to do. I can't help this person, but there are people there who can, right? And even
Mm-hmm.
maybe somebody in your group can. And so being able to send an SOS and say, this is where the thing is happening, that's huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I like to sign off with something positive, something a little fun. And I think this would be a great opportunity for us to just divert a little bit of our time into favorite festival experience because there are so many good memories that come out of festivals. Not all of them are, needing the SOS button. Some of them are just finding your friends after an amazing side quest because you had a great place to go see, you wanted to go to different stages. I wouldn't want anybody in my group to miss their favorite artist because I didn't want to miss, one of my favorite artists, but you need to be able to find each other again. And not everybody's as organized as your rave daddy might be, where it's like, hey, time and place, this is where you're supposed to be. It's like, well, wait a minute. What time was that? I don't remember. Where are we supposed to be and what stage? Was this the stage or was that the stage? I don't know. Right.
Yeah.
And so there are amazing festival experiences that I'm sure we've all had. And I know that both of you have had. Ben, what's your favorite festival experience?
Oh man. I would say, gosh, there's been a lot of definitely something I'd love to spend like a whole segment of podcast on.
60 seconds.
Um,
That's all you get. Go.
I would say concert-wise, and I know it's not necessarily festival, concert-wise, I would say seeing Kanye West back in the day. This is like 2004, 2005, at MTSU, Middle Tennessee State University, outside of Nashville, Tennessee. This is from his first album. Tiny
Nice.
little area. I think it was all of 1,500 seats or something like that. It was really small. And so getting to see him in there at that point in his career and all, one of my absolute favorite memories. And then I'd also have to say, like, getting to share it with my family. The very first concert we ever did as a family was Fall Out Boy. My daughter was going through a whole emo phase. So we all went to Fall Out Boy, which it was a hell of a show. It was a great time. I was in Memphis, Tennessee. So we had a great time over there and definitely some really good memories from that.
Awesome. Chris, 60 seconds. Go.
All right, 60 seconds. I'll try to be very fast, but also very thrilling. So, back in my younger years, I grew up in the Pacific Northwest in the Seattle area. In
Nice.
Seattle, around 2002, 2003, we had the White River Amphitheater open in the Auburn, Washington area. In that area, my now wife, back in her high school days, our high school days, worked for a coffee stand over in that area called Java Junction. And Java Junction had a coffee stand up at the White River Amphitheater. And so, because of that job and that company, I got a ticket to go to Ozfest the very first year it happened at White River Amphitheater.
Nice.
Yeah, buddy. And all I had to do was like run and go get ice when they needed ice. And thankfully, since it was the Pacific Northwest, it was not as often as you would think in Arizona. So it was great. I'd grab some ice, I'd drop it off, and then I'd go right back to the show.
That's amazing.
Fantastic.
I love it. And I love the diversity there. I got to go to Ozfest like 2004,
Yeah,
dating
sick.
myself a little bit.
Nice.
But my most favorite experience, also tying back to RaveDaddy a little bit, it was more recently. So, my wife and I, we started to get back into the scene because Marshmello did a pop-up here when the Super Bowl was in Arizona, and it was amazing. The music was amazing. Nightmare to Marshmello was great. And so that night we met like some of my best friends, Masood and Efsoon, who were like, hey, come to Gold Rush with us. And after Gold Rush, I was like, all right, Relentless Beats knows how to do it. It's like, the Disney world of adults, right? Where you're just like, there's festivals, there's people in costume, there's so much to do, there's great food. And so I won VIP passes to Decadence. And oh boy, Decadence was incredible. And on day one, the like final three lineup was John Summit to Steve Aoki to Subtronics. And boy, it was riding the adrenaline train the whole way. And that lineup is still like to this day probably the best lineup I've ever seen back to back to back. That whole show was just incredible. But I had one resounding problem with the show, and like Rave Daddy would have just solved it. It was an absolutely massive crowd. Those kind of names draw so many people, and I had to pee so bad. But I didn't want to lose my friends. I don't want to lose my wife. I don't want to lose the spot we have, right? And so where do you go? What do? You're just like, well, I'm holding it for 6 hours now, but I have to stay hydrated. But I have to pee. But I have to stay hydrated, right? And you're just caught between this like crowd dilemma. And Rave Daddy would have just been like, oh, hey guys, I'm going to go pee. I'll find you in a little bit. Boop. Oh, there you are. I see you. Hello. And so I knew instantly that there was a lot of awesome opportunity for this to solve just normal problems that we run into all the time at festivals. And I'm so happy we had the opportunity to podcast together and talk about it. This is really just the genesis, the epoch of what's to come. And the beta launches soon. We are going to be at John Summit this week.
Yeah, Friday night. It's going to be a great time. We
It's
look forward
going
to
to be
seeing
a
anybody who's out there.
great time.
Absolutely.
And so we'll get out there and we'll hang out and we'll talk to people
Yeah.
and we'll, run that beta test. And so anybody interested in it, you can follow RaveDaddy on Instagram, on Facebook. You can go and check out the website and get involved with the beta. Now is the time to be part of something really cool. And it's been a pleasure, but we have a new segment coming up next. I'm going to be interviewing DJ Nealson, a local amazing artist here in Arizona, who's also going to be playing Gold Rush, who played Decadence last year, and who has just the best plur attitude out of anybody I'll ever meet. So, without further ado, gentlemen, do you want to say roll the music?
Roll the music.
Roll the music.
Nailed
Really
it.
work on that.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. My name is Emanuel Class, and you're joining me for the second segment here on the RaveDaddy Ready VIP podcast. Joining me today is none other than DJ Nealson himself. Nealson, how you doing?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I am awesome. I'm so glad to have you on. We've talked about it before. You're such an awesome person, and I knew immediately that you would click with what Rave Daddy is trying to do because you have such a great message. And so, with that, we hashed out a few questions we wanted to ask you here on the Ready VIP podcast, and you're the VIP today. So,
I love it.
first, I just want to ask you how you doing, man? How you feeling?
I'm feeling really good. Had an amazing Sunday, hang out with some friends, and we took some pictures together. I watched a friend's DJ set, which is really cool. So
Awesome.
yeah.
That is an amazing day. Definitely the kind of day I'm trying to have. So I want to get into these questions because there's no reason for us to dance around the good stuff because this is all about you as our VIP. So tell me and the listeners, when did you first get into playing music?
I first got into music when I was actually like 5 years old. My mom really liked playing the piano, and she put me in some piano lessons. Um,
Nice.
let's just say I would fall asleep during my practices because they were pretty boring. So I wanted to play something cooler, and I had a friend that played guitar in 5th grade, so I wanted to play the guitar and picked it up then. And I did lessons for a few years as well, but
Nice.
I really just sort of yeah, I guess I just wanted to create more than anything. Um, and I was really inspired by a lot of post like hardcore bands and pop punk bands, the technicality of stuff they'd play. Then I got into indie music and a lot of
Nice.
things growing up. So yeah, I just always played, instruments my whole life. So
That's awesome. So when did you decide to take the detour into electronic music?
So I, of course, like most of us, in the 2010s, started going to raves and music festivals, and really getting immersed in the scene. I always really enjoyed it. But when I actually started the Nealson project was more at the end of 2020, wanting just to find new purpose in life. Um, I wasn't even writing electronic music. I was writing indie music actually, which I still do to this day. But I decided to mess around and make an electronic song, and I really felt like it came really natural and easy to me, um, because with band music, it's a lot of recording. The instruments. Electronic music, all the instruments are at your disposal, and they sound really good. So you could create whatever you wanted, and it sounds good in your own bedroom. And so I just started making more and more electronic songs and playing them for my friends. And they loved them. So I just kind of kept going from there.
That's awesome. Being a modern DJ is a lot like being a composer with all of those instruments and like sounds that don't even come from instruments at your fingertips. Really, music is your canvas.
Totally, I agree.
So, what are some of the themes and purposes behind your project? Because you have great stylization in your art, in your social medias, and your music videos, and your stage presence, and so it's very specifically curated.
Mm, I thank you for saying that. The pretty much it started as the theme was post breakup. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you maybe broke up with someone you didn't or you loved, you hurt them. There was all these issues, and you really just want to show them that it wasn't all for nothing. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the songs were about love, heartbreak. I've changed, see me for who I am now. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's something that a lot of us definitely go through in life where, we don't always know what we have till it's gone. And we have to live with that sort of, pain and change and look within. So introspection is a huge theme, reflecting on who you are as a person. What are your flaws? What are your strengths? So that's what I really wrote about a lot at first and ran with that. And then it kind of developed into okay, I got a lot of that out of my system.
Mm-hmm.
And everything was good, because these are real world things going on.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really write about things that aren't really happening to me. So these are that was a real world situation, and in the real world that got healed, and everything's fine. We're really good friends, and now it's okay. What's the new theme? And it's definitely a lot about empowerment and uplifting others around you, helping
Mm-hmm.
the community, and tapping into that side of music that's more inspiring others around you. So what does that take? And I think that encompasses with all the art, but not just the art, but the performances,
Mm-hmm.
um, sort of in what's possible and what are my dreams, and I'm going after them, and you can too, and you can be successful, and we can all love each other. So I really try to encompass a community vibe and love.
That's awesome. And it sounds like you have like different era of your music influenced by what was going on in your life. What would you say really defines that first era? Which song of yours is like encapsulating that moment for you?
I would say the first song would be different is the one
Mm.
that encapsulates, because people don't know this, or a lot of people don't, but I actually made that song when I very first started making electronic music. That was my like the one song that to me really stood out, from well, I was it's one of them, let's just say that. And I didn't release it for like 2.5 3 years later after I wrote it, and so that one's always really special to me.
I love that song. That's probably my favorite too. I'm a big Nielsen fan. Got my Nielsen hat in the
Hey,
mail today. The merch showed up just in time for the podcast.
love it.
It's gorgeous merch, by the way.
Thank you so much, I appreciate that.
I
Yeah.
was gonna put it on, but then I was like, oh, I gotta save it. There's an event coming up with
Yeah.
the DJs getting ready for Gold Rush, and so I'm super
Ooh,
excited about that one.
I'll be there.
I'll
I'll
be
be
wearing
there.
my Nielsen hat. Hey.
Yeah.
Speaking of Gold Rush,
Yeah.
so you've got Gold Rush on the horizon too.
Yeah.
What are you most excited about? What do you have planned? What's coming next for you?
The most excited I'm about truly is I'm making this video. I'm gonna announce it about a month before, but I'm getting every single person to send me a video of them doing something that they love, and I'm gonna make that my visuals for like the last 10, 15 minutes, just this huge montage of everyone that sends me a video is gonna be in it.
Awesome.
Because, yeah, I want to be here without you guys and the fans and the community, and I want you all to know that we made it here together. So that's probably what I'm most excited about. But two, just sharing the stage with some really cool artists, with the Chainsmokers and Ganja White
Hmm.
Night and Lesso. And I just, it feels really cool to be a part of that lineup. So I'm just super grateful to be there.
Absolutely. I got my tickets already. I'm super pumped. For this video submission for the visuals that you're doing, what are the specs on that? How long do you want your fans to video what they're doing? kind of passion are you looking for?
I like, it's hard to say, if like 10 people send me something, then it's gonna be, I don't know. It's gonna, if 500 people send me a video, it's gonna have to be, I don't know how long each, but but at least I can imagine, visually, like 5 seconds,
Hmm.
a 5 second clip of you doing something you love. It's going to transition to the next person, so it's just going to be this huge thing.
Nice.
But it needs to be, landscape,
Hmm.
it's going to be like that, so it can be on the big screen. But just whatever, like if you like to run, if you like to, no pun intended, if you like to dance, if you like to play guitar, if you like to DJ, whatever, if you like to hang out
Hmm.
with your kids, and whatever it is, I think I'm doing what I love, which is performing for you guys, and following my dreams, and whatever you like to do and enjoy is what I want to show on screen.
That's amazing. Well, I'll definitely send you a video.
Yes.
And Nealson's easy to get hold of. He's one of those people who is, you reach out to him and say, "Hey, I have a thing, I have an idea," and he will absolutely come to join in and make it an artistic dream.
Definitely. I love it.
So, one of our last questions here is, do you have any advice for the communities? And specifically, before this segment, I interviewed the co-founders for the RaveDaddy app. Any advice for the RaveDaddy users?
Ooh, yeah, one, I think that just for one advice on life advice, follow your dreams, follow your passions, go after it. You only are able to do these earthly things here. And
Hmm.
so whether that's whatever it is, you can only do it on earth, is what we're doing each day. And so I think it's very important to go after that, and it's your life, and take ownership of that. In a more concert setting, I'm a huge believer in just channeling your natural energy.
Nice.
We don't need to do other things to feel good all the time. Sometimes we can
Hmm.
just, be in the moment. Who we are as human beings and how our brains naturally operate are really fun. Being around people, dancing and listening to music, um, is really all you need, to feel good. I can't imagine a better thing. It's very uniting. So it's always like focusing on those. Don't allow yourself to be, your day to change because of a substance, or
Mm.
like one thing I always laugh at, because I love music. I don't know if you can tell. I'm someone, when I get to a festival, like I'm there for the music,
Hmm.
and go straight to the artist that you want. Go get in the crowd right away, get settled in, and don't worry about hitting the drink station. Don't worry about this. Like come ready, and just live in the moment.
I love it. Just live in the moment.
Mhm.
DJ Nealson.
No, yeah. Quote of the day.
Quote of the day. That's going to be the tagline for this podcast, but
Just enjoy yourself. I think actually
definitely.
my dad always told me this, and I wish I had taken his advice a lot, but he'd call me, and I don't know, be on a trip, or be with a real in on a date, or whatever it is, and
Hmm.
always just remember to enjoy yourself, and enjoy the moment, because you can never go back to those moments, um, no matter what, right? We could be at Gold
Hmm.
Rush, and those people around you, it will only happen once, and I promise you.
Definitely.
So
I'm a big fan of building good memories. We look back on some of our moments and they're amazing. And sometimes, they're less than amazing. And how we came out of it is a story too. And so, um, whatever your moment is, build good memories, enjoy the people around you. Nielsen, it's been amazing to have you on as our episode one guest. Do you have any parting shots? Anything you want to say that you don't think you got a chance to say? Anything you think the listener should hear from your lips?
just say, you all matter. We're all unique in our own ways, have our own abilities, and you can really carve your own destiny, as long as you're doing it with pure intentions, and you're treating others around you in a positive way. Then anything's possible.
Awesome. What a great way to sign off. I love that answer. Thank you for coming on the RaveDaddy Ready VIP.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Looking forward to hanging out with you soon.
Yes. Bye. Have a good one.